Hi, so I wanted to talk about life with royalty and CJ So Cool and the arm incident, but before I did that, I wanted to read 11 signs you're the victim of narcissistic abuse. And we're gonna talk about how that kind of ties into what I'm gonna be talking about. So it says, imagine this. Your entire reality has been warped and distorted. You have been mercilessly violated, manipulated, lied to, ridiculed, demeaned, and gaslighted into believing that you are imagining things. The person you thought you knew and the life you built together have been shattered into a million little fragments. Your sense of self has been ended, eroded, and diminished. You were idealized, devalued, then shoved off the pedestal. Perhaps you were even replaced and discarded multiple times, only to be hovered and lured back into an abuse cycle even more torturous than before. Maybe you were relentlessly stalked, harassed, and bullied to stay with your abuser. This was no normal breakup or relationship. This was a setup for a covert and insidious murder of your psyche and sense of safety in the world. Yet, there may be more visible scars to tell the tale. All you are broken pieces, fractured memories, and internal battle wounds. This is what narcissistic abuse looks like. Psychological violence of a malignant narcissist can include verbal and emotional abuse, toxic projection, stonewalling, sabotage, smear campaigns, triangulation, along with a plethora of other forms of coercion and control. This is imposed by someone who lacks empathy, demonstrates an excessive sense of entitlement, and engages in interpersonal exploitation to meet their own needs at the expense of the rights of others. As a result of chronic abuse, victims may struggle with symptoms of PTSD, complex PTSD, if they have an additional traumas like being abused by narcissist parents or even what is known as narcissistic victim syndrome. The aftermath of the narcissistic abuse can include depression, anxiety, hypervigilance, a pervasive sense of toxic shame, emotional flashback, and regrets to the victim back to the abuse incident, and overwhelming feelings of hopelessness and worthlessness. When we are in the midst of ongoing abuse cycle, it can be difficult to pinpoint exactly what we are experiencing because abusers are able to twist internal realities to suit their own needs, engage in intense love bombing after an abusive incident, and convince their victims that they are the ones who are the abuser. If you find yourself experiencing the 11 symptoms below and you or have been in a toxic relationship with a partner that disrespects, invalidates, and mistreats you, you may just have been terrorized by an emotional predator. You experience dissociation as a survival mechanism. You feel emotionally or even psychologically detached from your environment, experience disruptions in your memory, perception, consciousness, and sense of self. As Dr. Van der Kolk writes in this book, The Body Keeps the Score, dissociation is the essence of trauma. The overwhelming experience is split off and fragmented so that the emotions, sounds, images, thoughts, and psychological sensations take on a life of their own. Dissociation can lead to emotional numbing in the face of horrific circumstances. Mind numbing activities, obsessions, addictions, repression may become a way of life because they give you an escape from your current reality. Your brain finds ways to mostly block out the impact of your pain so you do not have to deal with the full terror of your circumstances. You may also develop traumatized inner parts and become disjointed from personality you inhabit with your abuser or loved one. These inner parts can include the inner child parts that were nurtured, the true anger and disgust you feel towards your abuser, or parts of yourself you feel you cannot express around them. Okay, it says integrating and reclaiming dissociated and disowned aspects of your personality is largely dependent upon on constructing cohesive narrative which allow the assimilation of emotional, cognitive, and psychological realities. This inner integration is best done with the help of a trauma-informed therapist. Number two, you walk on eggshells. A common symptom of trauma is avoiding anything that represents reliving the trauma, whether it be people, place, or activity that pose a threat, whether it be your friend, your partner, your family member, coworker, or boss. You find yourself constantly watching what you say or do around this person, lest you incur their wrath, punishment, or become the object of their envy. However, you find that this does not work, and you still become the abuser's target whenever he or she feels entitled to use you as an emotional punching bag. You become perpetually anxious about provoking your abuser in a way that you avoid confronting or setting boundaries as a result. You may also extend Your people pleasing behavior outside of your abusive relationship, losing your ability to be spontaneous or assertive while navigating the outside world, especially with people who resemble or are associated with your abuser in abuse. You put aside your basic needs and desires, sacrificing your emotional, even your physical safety to please the abuser. You may have once been full of life, goal driven, and dream oriented. Now you feel as if you are living just to fulfill the needs and the agendas of another person. Once a narcissist's entire life seems to revolve around you, now your entire life revolves around them. You may have placed your goals, your hobbies, friendships, personal safety on the back burner just to ensure that your abuser feels satisfied in the relationship. Of course, you soon realize that he or she will never truly be satisfied, regardless of what you do or don't do. It says you are struggling with health issues and sometimes symptoms that represent your psychological turmoil. It says you may gain or lose a significant amount of weight, develop serious health issues that did not exist prior to experience psychological symptoms of premature aging. The stress of chronic abuse can send your cortisol levels into overdrive, and your immune system has taken a severe hit, leaving you vulnerable to physical elements and disease. You find yourself unable to sleep or experiencing terrifying nightmares. When you do, reliving the trauma through emotional or visual flashbacks that bring you back to the site of the original wounds. It says you develop a pervasive sense of mistrust. Every person now represents a threat to you. You find yourself becoming anxious about the intentions of others, especially having experienced the malicious actions of someone you once trusted. The usual caution becomes hypervigilance since and the narcissist abuser has worked hard to gaslight you into believing that your experiences are invalid and that you have a hard time trusting anyone, including yourself. You experience suicidal ideation or self harming tendencies. And it says you self isolate. It says you can find yourself comparing yourself to others. And then it says you're self sabotage and self destruct. It says victims often find themselves um, it says ruminating over the abuse and hearing the abuser's voice in their minds, amplifying their negative self talk and tendencies towards self sabotage. Malignant narcissist program and condition their victims to self destruct sometimes, even to the point of driving them to suicide due to narcissist covert and overt put downs, verbal abuse, and hypercriticism. Victims develop a tendency to punish themselves because they carry such toxic shame. They may sabotage their goals, dreams, and academic pursuits. The abuser has instilled in them a sense of worthlessness, and they begin to believe that they are undeserving of good things. Now, this last part, I wanted to read the self sabotage and self destruct. Okay, so I feel like that's pretty much is what's going on with Life with Royalty and CJ So Cool behind the daughter being injured. I do not believe at no point in time in my last video that the child got hurt underneath Royalty's care. Even the T page said the child was with him. She didn't have a cast on her arm, and later on, she ended up with a cast on her arm. So, obviously, the injury took place with the father. Now, what I didn't understand is why the mother took accountability for it on BSCTV and said that the father was not the person that was responsible for the child's injury. And I think that brings you to the self sabotage and self destruct portion of this, where it says victims often find themselves ruminating over the abuse and hearing the abuser's voice in their minds, amplifying their negative self-talk tendency towards self-sabotage, manipulative narcissist program, and condition their victims to self-destruct, sometimes even to the point of driving themselves. And it's I'm not gonna say that part. Due to narcissist covert and overt put downs, the verbal abuse and hypercriticism, victims develop a tendency to punish themselves because they carry such toxic shame. They may sabotage their goals, dreams, and academic pursuits. The abuser has instilled in them a sense of worthlessness, and they begin to believe they are undeserving of good things. So, a person who is doing well may self sabotage because they went through narcissistic abuse. Okay, and that's why it's important for her to potentially get therapy if she is experiencing any of this stuff, because um, it would have to be some emotional damage or trauma going on for you to take the blame for something you didn't do, especially when you know you're going to receive backlash from people, especially when it's already people online, basically like hate groups against this woman, while she would take personal responsibility for something she didn't do, and she understands the seriousness of that could be, people calling places on her and a lot of other things. So I could not understand for the life of me why she would take accountability for something she did not do. Okay. Even if it's just publicly. Um, and it was weird because days before, um, the little girl suffered injury, I had noticed that on CJ Soku's Snapchat, he had been posting old memories of Soku Land, um, like pictures of himself, the dogs. I didn't really look at it that long, and then it was on the day before the injuries took place. He had actually posted a video of royalty and the children when he was surprising them with the house at Soku Land. So I just thought that was weird. Like that was kind of like a manipulation tactic. Like he knew what he was going to do before he got the child, that he was going to cause her injury, most likely for insurance money, and that he was trying to emotionally manipulate royalty by posting all this stuff on his Snapchat to make it like he was thinking about them or reminiscing on good times. And it was all just a manipulation tactic so that when he did do something wrong, he could manipulate her. And in this case, he manipulate her into taking responsibility for something clearly she didn't do, and kind of like self sabotaging, all the progress her and her family made, which is super sad. So, for everybody who is listening to me, if you care about this woman and you care about her family, and you care about the children, um, you know, talk to her about getting some possible help or some therapy, okay? Because it looks like this man still has some type of stronghold over her, especially if he's getting her to self sabotage her life when she seemed to be doing so well. Okay. This is a super sad situation. I am not here to, come down on a single mother. That's never been my intention. But, people, if you claim you care about someone, caring about someone is calling them out too when they're doing something wrong or when you see something that's wrong. Okay. You can't just sit back and celebrate all the good things and then not say, okay, well, we see this is going wrong, you know, you need to fix this. So that and it's really not even about her, it's about the children. If you've been through a lot of trauma and abuse and it's impacting your ability to take care of your kids or keep them safe from an abusive parent, that's something that needs to be talked about. Hopefully people around her can see what's going on and they can get her some help. But there's nothing wrong with talking about stuff like this if something is wrong. It's not about coming down on somebody or trying to, join a hate train, because I know it's a lot of people that say such horrible things about this lady and it's undeserving. But at the same time, you got to keep it honest if you care. If you truly care, then, keep it honest. Try to convince her to get some help, get some therapy so that she can protect her kids from this man who's clearly not safe, clearly does not care about them. He's just trying to, manipulate them and use them and exploit them, for money. In this case, maybe some insurance money. And I just don't want to see the kids end up hurt because of it. That's all. That's my little spiel. Hopefully, you know, things go better, things get better. And, you know, all right. That's all I have to say for now. I'll come back with another video um, talking about the father. Because I think somebody put out a video. I'm definitely not for people like the father. I don't agree with the way he treated them after the breakup. I don't agree with a lot of things he do. I don't agree with his alternative lifestyle around his children. I don't agree with none of that. So yeah, till next time, I'm out.